All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me on this Thursday edition. We're doing this one day later of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. Appreciate you guys waiting patiently for this podcast to come out. Was busy yesterday. I was actually celebrating my mom's birthday, so had fun doing that. Appreciate those who showed some love for my mom on social media. Greatly appreciate you guys doing that, and that was a fun afternoon, a fun evening. Can't complain. She had a great birthday, so that's always good. When moms are happy on their birthdays, that's always a good thing. All right, let's get on with it. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of positives to talk about as the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 6-7. Of all the years they chose to be, 6-7 is the year where 6-7 is a trend. Yeah. We'll talk about the Chiefs right now as their odds of making the playoffs get slimmer and slimmer. Feels like we're saying that for 4 weeks straight now. But the Chiefs can be officially eliminated from playoff contention this Sunday. I'll tell you what needs to happen in order for that to be the case. What kind of change can we expect from the Chiefs in the near future? And what do we want to see from this team moving forward? Some people would rather they lose out for draft placement. Some people just want to see the season end on somewhat of a positive note. What do you guys want to see from the Kansas City Chiefs in the remaining 4 games? Also, there has been some criticism on this Kansas City Chiefs football team that I've got to push back on a little bit. Also, some non-Chief stuff I want to get into. Joe Burrow had some really fascinating comments that has a lot of people taking note. And also the Sherrone Moore firing that is being talked about everywhere. Definitely have to weigh in on that as well this evening. Appreciate you guys joining me once again. I'm Farzin Vasugian. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs. Concerts, whatever it is you want to attend, SeatGeek is the place for you to go. And if you guys want to purchase any tickets on SeatGeek, new customers can use my promo code Farzin. You'll save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, new customers can enter my promo code Farzin, $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. All right. Got a lot to talk about this evening as the Chiefs, well, the last time we were here, it was about an hour before Monday Night Football, and I gave you guys an actual wild scenario as to how the Chiefs could make the playoffs as a 9-8 team. Yes, I actually did not think I would be having this discussion, and the reason I had that optimism on Monday, despite coming off that loss to Houston, is because of the injury to Daniel Jones. Listen, a lot of you guys were already down on the Colts because of their difficult schedule. I wasn't. We'll see what happens with the Colts moving forward. But one team that I've been saying for a long time that's going to decline and fall out of the playoff picture, and I've been saying this for a very long time. I've been saying that about the Chargers football team. And when you look at the Chargers, yeah, they've got a banged up offensive line. No Alt, no Slater, some other injuries here and there on that offensive line. It's not a very good offensive line, but man, they are finding ways to squeeze out victories. I mean, they keep finding ways to do so. They're the number 5 seed right now in the AFC over the Bills. I guess we've got to give the Chargers their flowers here because I'll be honest with you guys, I keep thinking they're going to fall out, but they're 4-0 in the AFC West. I believe they've played the Raiders twice. Yes, they have. They beat the Raiders not this past week, but the week before. They're 4-0 in the division. They're 7-2 in conference play. I understand not everyone has the same number of conference games played right now up to this point, but they are tied for the best conference record in the AFC. They're tied with Houston and they're tied with Denver for the best record in conference games in the AFC. I think we've got to stop writing off the Chargers. And Kansas City's got a really tough game this week. And we'll get into the breakdown and all that later. The Chiefs, they're 4.5-point betting favorites for whatever that is worth to you. That line, by the way, they opened at 4.5. It's now 5.5 in favor of Kansas City. A lot of you guys think Vegas is trolling with this one. I'm not dismissing that as a possibility. But boy, I think this Chargers team, they are a much better football team than I think a lot of us had been willing to give them credit for. Because I'm watching that Monday Night Football game, and I know that was not a great win for the Chargers. Those last, couple minutes in overtime, it looked very bleak for them, but they found a way to come through and win. That pick by Jefferson to seal the deal and improve to 9-4. I mean, you cannot say anything negative about this Chargers team defensively. Offensively, yeah, they've got some things to work on. And by the way, what an ugly game that was. 8 combined turnovers, 5 from Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I think, became the first player in NFL history to commit 2 turnovers in one play where he threw a pick, and I can't remember who got that pick, but that player fumbled it, and Hurts recovered the fumble, and then he fumbled it back to the Chargers. 5 turnovers for, where was that? I said Herbert, I meant Jalen Hurts. 5 turnovers for Jalen Hurts. Where the hell was that Jalen Hurts in Super Bowl 59? That was my immediate reaction when he threw that final interception of the game. Speaking of that final interception of the game, that did give the Chargers their 9th win of the season. And I thought it was a shoe-in win for the Eagles. I know the Eagles have been struggling a bit. If you thought the sky was falling in Kansas City, they want the head coach, the quarterback, they all want everyone gone in Philly. This team just beat the Chiefs. Didn't just beat them, destroyed them in the Super Bowl 10 months ago, and they want to blow the whole thing up. I mean, it's crazy, but that's Philly for you. Nonetheless, though, I mean, the Chargers just threw a big wrench in what I thought was going to be somewhat of a fairly reasonable crack to get into the playoffs for Kansas City. Because we keep thinking the Chargers are going to fall apart with that banged up offensive line. No, they keep playing, I don't want to say great football, but they're finding ways to win right now. They are finding ways to win. This is a football team that, okay, maybe on paper the Chargers don't look good. And listen, there are a lot of teams in the AFC that don't look good on paper, but a lot of them are finding ways to win more than Kansas City right now. There is a serious possibility that the AFC playoffs will feature 7 teams, none of which their quarterbacks are Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. I know the Bills are kind of on the edge right now as the 6th seed in the AFC. I thought they were going to be a shoo-in for the 5 seed. Doesn't appear that's going to be the case. I think they'll end up being the 5 seed. But boy, to not have Burrow, Mahomes, or Jackson in the playoffs this year. Listen, I don't care if Buffalo is a wild card team. If you are the Buffalo Bills, what's been the Achilles heel in the Super Bowl, or in the playoffs, excuse me? Patrick Mahomes plus Joe Burrow that one postseason. There's not going to be a Joe Burrow in the postseason. There's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. If you're Buffalo, you have no excuses, because the excuse has always been, oh, Burrow that one postseason and then Mahomes the other 4 and allegedly getting help from the refs. Because apparently the Bills are not that great of a football team to prevent bad calls. Which every team deals with, by the way. Well, you're not going to be dealing with Mahomes and the refs as they claim that they do, the fan base that is. So with no Mahomes, Buffalo better win a Super Bowl, because if they don't, I don't know what kind of narratives are going to come up, but they're not going to be good ones about Josh Allen and the Bills. They're just not. It's going to be an interesting playoff picture for sure. And listen, you have a lot of new teams, a lot of young guys, a lot of A lot of first-year head coaches that are first year with their new teams. That is, you look at Vrabel with the Patriots. You look at Cohen with the Jaguars. And then you have a Texans team with D'Amico Ryans. They made it to the playoffs last year. They look like they're going to do it again now. This is going to be interesting. And obviously on the NFC side, you've got some teams as well. I mean, look at the Chicago Bears. I know they just went from the 1 seed to the 7 seed. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but the Chicago Bears are looking pretty good right now in a tough division, obviously. So, boy, it's been a crazy season. I love the Coach of the Year award. I think that's, to me, the most intriguing award every year. There are a lot of great coaches that are they're going to be in the running for Coach of the Year for sure. So we'll see how that ends up going for the final 4 weeks, and then they'll award the Coach of the Year the week of the Super Bowl, a couple of days before. So we'll see how that goes. All right, listen, we keep talking about the Chiefs and their odds of making the playoffs getting slimmer and slimmer. We've been saying that for 4 weeks now. The margin for error is very small, and then it gets smaller every week with every loss. And they've lost 4 of their last 5. Listen, realistically speaking, this Chiefs team is not going to make it. I mean, again, realistically speaking, they're going to possibly finish 10-7, 9-8, 8-9. When you look at the remaining 4 games, they have to win out. I think there is room for them to lose 1 game, depending how other teams do, but the Chargers have to basically lose out. It would help if the Bills lose out. The Colts have to drop a couple of games. The Texans have to drop a couple of games. You're asking way too much from way too many teams. And that's just realistically not going to happen. Now, I did tell you guys at the beginning of the podcast when we started that there's a possibility for the final nail to be pinned in Kansas City's coffin for this season. There is a chance that the Chiefs could be written off for good in terms of their playoff hopes. There are 4 games that will take place this week, all of them Sunday at noon Central Time. Here's what needs to happen in order to officially eliminate Kansas City from playoff contention. The Chargers would need to beat the Chiefs. That's a very big one. The other 3, the Bills beating the Patriots. I think New England should be favored in that one, but the Bills winning is not out of the realm of possibilities. The Jaguars to beat the Jets, that would be quite the upset if the Jets won. The other one, this would also be an upset. The Texans beating the Texans beating the Cardinals. Listen, the Texans and the Jaguars, I think you can pencil in wins for those 2 teams. They've got a 95% shot of winning those games. Those 2 teams winning that game, I should say, their games. The Bills beating the Patriots, that one's kind of a toss-up, 50-50. Chargers and Chiefs, some people just don't trust Kansas City anymore. Some people think the Chiefs are due to win now after dropping 2 straight. Some people think it's a 50-50 game. I kind of lean that way as well. So 2 of these 4 scenarios to eliminate Kansas City, very possible. And by the way, to be clear, and I thought this was clear, but when I posted about this, there were a lot of questions. All 4 scenarios must happen. The Chargers, Bills, Jaguars, and Texans all must win Sunday in order for the Chiefs to officially be eliminated from playoff contention. And once again, all 4 of these games take place at 12 o'clock. So if it's going to happen, we'll find out around 3 o'clock Central Time, provided none of these games go to overtime. So that is the state of the Kansas City Chiefs right now. They are on the brink of elimination. And this one is going to get it. Listen, as far as the Colts, and we talked about this on Monday, it's been official since then. I know Philip Rivers is on the practice squad right now for the Colts. There's no way he's coming back just to spend time on the practice squad for a paycheck. There's no way he's going in there to coach up. And I apologize, I don't have the name of the backup quarterback that's been filling in for Daniel Jones recently. Riley Leonard. I mean, he's not there to coach Riley Leonard or Brett Ripon. He's not there to do that. Yes, he does do coaching. I don't think he's here to, or in Indy rather, to do that. He's got to be playing for you. If not this week, for sure the following week. So this to me, I mean, this is like a plan where you're hoping things go well. Listen, I don't know what kind of football shape Phillip Rivers is in. He's 44 years old. I mean, the guy was a Hall of Fame nominee, meaning he hadn't played in 5 years. You have to be away from the game for at least 5 years in order to be eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That clock has now officially reset for him. So we'll see when he plays, but boy, it's going to be interesting to see how Phillip Rivers looks, because I don't think he's staying on the practice squad too long. It's going to change real soon. Now, with that said, listen, again, realistically speaking, the Chiefs currently 6-7 right now, possibly 10-7, 9-8, 8-9, somewhere around there. Change is imminent. Like, as soon as the offseason begins, which is going to be mid-January, the middle of the first week of January, that Monday after, or Sunday, depending if the Chiefs play on Saturday or what, I think it's going to end up being a Sunday game, to be honest with you. I don't know if that one's going to have a lot of relevance to put on a Saturday. But you have a lot of things to figure out if you're Kansas City. And specifically with the offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, and the special teams coordinator, Dave Toub. Look, I know a lot of people have all these criticisms, and I'll get to one big one in a moment here. Matt Nagy, listen, the drops are continuing to happen. The execution is not there. The deep pass game has not come back like we all thought it was going to, and we were all told it was going to come back. That's not happening. For those who are defending Matt Nagy on the drops, saying, oh, well, the coaches are not dropping passes. I'm very well aware who's on the field and who's not. Trust me, I am. But when things are not going right, someone needs to be held accountable. You can't just hide behind, well, the coaches are not on the field, the players are. There's a reason why coaches get hired and fired. If your players are not delivering, then something's wrong with management, coaching. That's why we see these firings happen, because the team doesn't execute. The head coach is given all of these responsibilities to lead the team. And if you're not producing, if you're not winning, yeah, the coaches are going to get fired. Sometimes it's the head coach. Sometimes it's going to be the assistant some year. And this year, I think you got to seriously consider some of the assistants. I mentioned Connor Embry, the wide receivers coach. Ever since he's been the wide receivers coach, it just hasn't gone well. And listen, let me just say this. For people who want to hide behind, oh, coaches don't drop passes, fine. Why is it that we're seeing these issues in Kansas City still? I mean, Tyquan Thornton had one in the end zone. Yes, that was a good defensive play, but I've also seen Tyquan Thornton make difficult catches before. Rashee Rice, this guy's been dropping passes more lately. And we saw him do a little bit contributing to that 2023 total of drops that season. And we all said, oh, okay, well, he's a rookie. He'll get it together. The other guys were veterans. You know what's interesting to me? Remember the Kadarius Toney game? The Kadarius Toney game where he was offside? And we just kind of wondered, like, we don't ever see wide receivers line up incorrectly. They're always checking with the official on the line of scrimmage to line up correctly. What is going on in this situation? Well, I remember last season, DeAndre Hopkins, in his first game with the Chiefs in Vegas, he lined up incorrectly. He lined up offside. And DeAndre Hopkins, who does not ever drop a pass in his career, he had a few drops with Kansas City last year. Everyone remembers the one in the Super Bowl last year that could have helped get something going with the Chiefs before halftime. Not that I think it made a big difference, but it was still tough to watch. Like even Hopkins was dropping an easy, wide open pass. And then in week 1 of this season, Hopkins with the Baltimore Ravens going out there making all these difficult catches here. So my question is, if you're going to hide behind coaches don't drop passes, then why is it that a veteran, a future Hall of Famer like DeAndre Hopkins, one of the smartest wide receivers to ever played this game, he comes to Kansas City, doesn't line up correctly in his first game, drops a couple of passes, something he never does. Then he goes to Baltimore. He's making all these plays here and there. I mean, Hopkins is not the receiver he once was, don't get me wrong, but why is it that Hopkins doesn't look anything like he did last year with his time in Kansas City? Is it a Mahomes thing? Is it a coaching thing? This doesn't make any sense. Something's wrong with the coaching staff. And then the execution. And listen, everyone says Andy Reid's the play caller, which I believe, but that doesn't mean the offensive coordinator. That doesn't mean the offensive coordinator does not have anything to do with the team. Like I've always said, the offensive coordinators for the Chiefs, whether it's Eric Bieniemy, Doug Peterson, or Matt Nagy, they're the enforcer of the offense on the coaching staff. That's the responsibility they have. And if they're not able to enforce these things to their offensive players, then my question is, what's going on there? And I think, listen, at the end of the day, these mistakes that we keep talking about with Kansas City, that the drops are kind of coming back now, unfortunately. The pass blocking has not been great. I know there are a lot of injuries right now, but even before the Trey Smith and Josh Simmons injuries, we saw some issues with the pass blocking. What's going on there? Why are these issues continuing? Because we never saw repeated issues for a long period of time under Eric Bieniemy when he was the offensive coordinator. And listen, if I could handpick the next offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, I would love for it to be Eric Bieniemy. Now, I'm not saying he's the only option, but something's just like when it comes to being an offensive coordinator with this team, Matt Nagy just doesn't have it. I thought Matt Nagy was a good offensive coordinator before he left for Chicago. That led him to getting the job with the Chicago Bears. But ever since he came back to be the offensive coordinator in his second stint with the Chiefs, Matt Nagy doesn't have it. I would be shocked if this guy is back. Listen, we know the Chiefs are going to finish probably 10-7, 9-8, 8-9, somewhere around there. If there isn't change with the offensive coaching staff, I have no hope for next season. I got to be realistic with you guys. I'm not. Maybe the Chiefs get into the wild card to the playoffs as a wild card, but I cannot even say that with confidence right now. Obviously, we need to see what happens in the offseason, but man, the Chiefs invested so much in this wide receiver trio of Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy. Maybe not financially, they're not investing a lot in these guys, but they drafted Worthy, traded up to get him in the first round. They drafted Rice in the second round. They signed Hollywood Brown in the offseason in 2024. Despite the injury and missing a bunch of games last year, they felt it was worth it for him to come back, so they re-signed him. They have been very patient for waiting for these three guys to play together at the same time, and you finally have it, and they're just not delivering. This is not the EGE, everybody got to eat. Remember when Rashee Rice tried to start that trend? We're not seeing that. EGE was a major failure this year. Major failure. And listen, I know, Jason, you're never late. No one's ever late. To me, it's like, listen, I'm not one of those people that wants to lose out just for a better pick in the draft, because we've seen so many times Kansas City and so many other teams, they're able to find great players outside the first round. But this Chiefs team, I mean, look, do I want them to win? Yeah, of course, even if they don't make the playoffs. And if I had my option, because I'm seeing some people say, why go to the playoffs when they'll probably be one and done? Listen, man, with this Chiefs team, if they get into the playoffs, they can't ever be written off. Not saying it's guaranteed they'll go all the way. You can't even guarantee that they'll make it out of the wild card round. But what I can say about this team is this team cannot be dismissed if they get into the playoffs, which I don't think is happening, to be clear. I'd rather fight for a shot to try and make it. Now, here's something that would upset me. If the Chiefs finish the season winning their last 4 games, which, by the way, they're not all easy games. This Chargers team, they're not as easy as I thought they'd be with the banged up offensive line. They're finding ways to win games. Is it going to be sustainable in something that can translate well in the playoffs? Probably not. But for right now, it is. And if they find a way to beat the Chargers and the Broncos, I'm going to have questions. If they find a way to go 4-0 in these last 4 games, the number one question should be, why the hell did they figure this out in the second week of December and not any time before that? Again, I'm not advocating that I want them to lose, because I'd rather they win than lose. But I'm going to if the Chiefs find a way to finish the season with 4 wins, I'm going to have far more questions than answers. Because even in the event the Chiefs win 4 games, they need a lot of other things to go their way. So that'll give me a lot of questions and answers. Listen, that Colts win, the only win the Chiefs have had in the last 5 games, I came away with that with more questions than answers. The Chiefs, their offense was dead for 3 quarters. They finally started going in the final minute of the 3rd quarter. And they lit it up in the 4th quarter and in overtime. And if you guys remember that post-game podcast, I said, which Chiefs team are we going to get in Dallas on Thanksgiving? Is it going to be the 4th quarter and the overtime offense, or are we going to get the first 3 quarters offense? Well, unfortunately, we got both. We got that high-powered offense in the 1st quarter. Then in the 2nd and the 3rd quarters, they went quiet. The inconsistency has been very frustrating with Kansas City right now. And listen, I think that's why this is a fan base right now. They're fed up. I know there are right now 2 sides of this fan base right now. There's one side that's saying, hey, look, we've had all the success to enjoy the last 7 years. This just wasn't our year. And listen, if you lean that way, nothing wrong with that. More power to you. And I feel a little bit that, listen, I have come to peace that the Chiefs are not making the playoffs this year. I think, lowering your expectations can avoid major disappointment at this point, because we're already disappointed with the season, 100%. Now, there is the other side, and I lean more towards this side, that you're 6-7 in December. This is a way better football team on paper, which, again, I've said many times, games are not won on paper. You have to go win them on the field. You got to win them on the gridiron. And the Chiefs, they have not played well as a team this year. They just haven't. And I think there's a lot of responsibility across the board. Players from Patrick Mahomes to the 53rd player, coaches, Andy Reid to the assistants, front office, everyone deserves a lot of the blame right now. Everyone. When you're a team that's had all the success the previous 7 years, and this is what you look like this year, yeah, everyone's got to bear some of the responsibility here, and changes will be made. But one thing I have to push back on, I'm seeing a lot of people out there, a lot of Chiefs fans, say that Andy Reid should be fired or should retire. Again, there's a lot of blame to go across the board, including all of your leaders, the 4 important people of this dynasty, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Everyone deserves the blame right now. But let's slow down on the whole fire Andy Reid thing here. Like, come on. Yes, this is a heavily disappointing season. No one is going to say otherwise. But Andy Reid just took you to 7 straight AFC championship games. The last time the Chiefs played an AFC title game, Joe Montana was the quarterback. And before that, it was Len Dawson. So let's keep that in mind for a moment here. On top of the 7 straight AFC championship game appearances, 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl wins. Listen, Andy Reid, with everything he's accomplished, He's earned the opportunity for one more season. Now, I will say this. If you miss the playoffs next year, if you're Kansas City, yeah, you got to have a conversation about Andy Reid. And to be honest with you, do I think Clark Hunt would fire Andy? No, I don't. Listen, some of you guys are not going to like this. Clark Hunt and his family, they have a fantastic relationship with Andy Reid and his family. The Hunt family, they have actually, the women of the Hunt family, Gracie Hunt, Tavia Hunt, Gracie, who is Clark Hunt's daughter, and Tavia Hunt, who is also Gracie's mother, and also the husband of, or I'm sorry, the wife of Clark Hunt. They've posted this stuff online. So this is not any, secrecy that no one else is supposed to know. They have posted this stuff online. I mean, they have gone to Mexico to celebrate Tammy Reid's birthday. Tammy Reid, of course, being Andy Reid's wife. And if I'm not mistaken, I think last year, Tavia Hunt posted a photo of her and Tammy traveling, I want to say, to Toronto for a Taylor Swift concert. They're pretty close. Clark Hunt has said many times the best move in this organization's history was signing Andy Reid. I think that's the second best. I think the number one is drafting Patrick Mahomes, but I digress. The point I'm trying to make is Clark Hunt will not fire Andy Reid unless next season they go winless the entire year. Like, if the Chiefs finish close to 500, you can't say 500 because there's no 8-8 seasons anymore. But if they go 9-8 or 8-9, I don't think Clark Hunt would do it. But if the Chiefs miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, I think Andy Reid would retire. I do. I truly believe that. So listen, there's a lot of time from now until then. So let's slow down on the Andy Reid fire train here. Like, let's chill out a little bit. Is he having a bad season with the rest of the guys on the Chiefs, coaches and players? Yes. But this guy's earned the opportunity to fix the ship one more offseason. I'm a little nervous as to what's going to happen. I know Andy Reid, the one criticism of Andy Reid when it comes to putting together his staff is that he is very loyal and does not make a lot of changes. You have to think with the way the team is right now and how they'll very likely finish, which is 99% going to miss the playoffs. You got to think there's got to be some change with the offensive coaching staff, not just with Nagy, but some of the position coaches as well, with Connor Embry, with Andy Heck, the offensive line coach. There, and maybe another change there as well. I don't know. There's got to be some change coming soon. As far as personnel changes, I'm going to wait until the Chiefs are officially eliminated from playoff contention, and we will dive into that more at that time. There is one actual personnel player discussion I do want to have. A lot of people talking about Harrison Butker and just the type of season he's had. Harrison Butker has 8 misses this season, 4 field goals, 4 PATs. One of those PATs came after it was a really terrible unsportsmanlike conduct call that forced the Chiefs to go back 15 yards to kick the PAT. Listen, 2023, Butker was the best kicker in the NFL. And the fact that Harrison Butker was not on the All-Pro team for 2023 was a damn shame because he only missed 2 kicks that year. And they were back-to-back weeks, field goals. So I think Harrison Butker, and listen, I've gone over Harrison Butker's resume many, many times. I'm not going to do it again right now. Harrison Butker has not been the same kicker since that surgery he had on his knee last season, around November of last season. Andy Reid has been very quick to dismiss the questions of whether or not that's impacting Harrison Butker this year. I remember at the beginning of the year, which, listen, Harrison Butker has improved a lot since the beginning of the season, but we're still seeing misses. That's what it comes down to. And he's had a couple of really bad kickoffs as well that's hurt the Chiefs. Andy Reid's defense, well, not necessarily the defense, but the explanation as to why Butker was struggling, he said, well, it's between the contact from the leg to the ball. Well, no shit. If a kicker is missing, it's because of how he kicked the ball. I get that. but it's been a consistent issue this season, or more so the first half of the season. We haven't seen too much of that in the second half, but it is tallying up from his season total, and really since his injury last year. This is not the Butker we saw in 2023, where he was damn near automatic. So, I don't know. I'd be curious to see. Yeah, his kicking style. A lot of people have been talking about that as well. I know Pat McAfee, who, listen, that's his expertise right there. I know he was talking about that on his podcast last year. I don't know what the issue is specifically with Butker. It's hard to say. I mean, the holds look fine. The snaps look fine. I know anytime he misses, the first thing I always want on a replay is to see the snap and the hold. The snap you can usually see live on TV. The hold, you're not able to get a good glance at the hold live on TV when it's happening. Usually when they replay it and slow-mo it, you'll get a better idea whether the hold was good or not. It feels like Matt Araiza has been doing just fine with the holds this season. I don't think that's been the case. And listen, we all know Dustin Colquitt. He'll say something if he thinks that's the case, because he did that with Tommy Townsend, calling him out for his bad holds a couple of years ago. So we'll see what happens. But I think people need to chill out on the Butker credit. I think Butker does deserve one more year. But is it reasonable to suggest that there should be competition for the kicking spot? I think there has to be. It's been a year and a half of struggles, so I'd like to see that for sure. All right, a couple of non-NFL stories I want to get into. Joe Burrow, he did a press conference yesterday with the media. He had some really interesting comments regarding whether or not he's having fun. And he was talking about how if he's not having fun, what's this all for? Listen, when you're playing Pee-wee football, the number one thing you're taught is, kids, win or lose, you've got to have fun out there. It's a whole different deal in the NFL when, if you are a good player, you're going to get a good contract. You're going to have some endorsements that come with it. I know Joe Burrow's on some stuff with Joe Montana and Guinness. I don't know what other endorsement. Maybe he has some local endorsements in the Cincinnati area. I don't know. But the Cincinnati Bengals are a really interesting football team. Listen, from aside the fact that we like to fire shots at good old Houday Nation, who've been very quiet for a couple of years now. Look, this is a really weird team with some of the contract negotiations they've had for a couple of years now. Listen, it's no secret this Bengals team just is not historically a well-run organization. I get you get drafted by a team and you want to stay there for as long as you can and fight for that team to the end. But first of all, when you sign a massive deal with that organization, you know what you're signing up for when you're choosing to stay in Cincinnati. On top of that, if you're going to pay QB1, it's okay to pay wide receiver 1. But if you pay a lot of money to wide receiver 2, why? And you can't sit here and start wondering, oh, well, Joe Burrow doesn't have an offensive line. Well, no shit, because they spent a bunch of money on him and on the 2 wide receivers. Listen, if you're an elite quarterback like Joe Burrow, and Burrow is an elite quarterback, you can win with anyone. Now, if you're winning with guys who are dropping passes like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, then listen, no quarterback is going to succeed with that. You don't have to have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins talent type of football players. You can get second tier, third tier wide receivers and still win with them as long as you have a good offensive line. Now, the other part of it, Joe Burrow, he's injury prone. This is not a secret. And it's not an insult either. It's a fact. Joe Burrow also said something very odd that, he's had some professional and personal things going on where things are not fun. Now, the personal stuff, that's his business. That's not for anyone else to talk about. Hopefully everything's okay on that front. But, dude, he just sounded dejected. Like, I'm listening to Chiefs players and just how frustrated and dejected they sound and feel. Joe Burrow sounded like he was on the verge of just saying, hey, I quit. And there's been some speculation for a while. Is he going to pull an Andrew Luck and step away earlier from the game than he would like? I mean, listen, I hope not. I think Joe Burrow's been a good story in the NFL. If the Bengals would have won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, I think Burrow would have pulled off something that's never happened before, if I'm not mistaken, winning a championship. I think did Burrow win the Heisman? I think he did one year. If I'm mistaken, I apologize. Forgive me on that. And then he would have probably won Super Bowl MVP, because MVP almost always goes to the quarterback for these games and regular season awards. And that would have been a very cool story for him, but that didn't happen. And since then, they've gotten worse and worse every year. They missed the Super Bowl by one game the following year when the Chiefs got revenge, and then they missed the playoffs. Well, Burrow was hurt. Okay. But then last year, when Burrow was not hurt, he led the league in every passing category. Jamar Chase led the league in every receiving category. Trey Hendrickson, as shitty as that defense was, led the league in sacks. And they still missed the playoffs. So you can't tell me, oh, Burrow was not healthy last. Well, he was, and they actually dominated statistically. They probably statistically were the best team, except for the win-loss record. Okay, maybe not defensively, but you get the idea. Listen, I don't know what the future of this team looks like. I really don't. They went and got Joe Flacco to try to stay competitive in a very bad division this year. A division that's, in recent memory, been very competitive. And that's helped them kind of stay in the hunt. Joe Flacco's done some good things, but that defense has still been bad. Now, this most recent game, you can't put it on the defense. As bad as the defense was, Burrow threw a pick six and then threw another bad interception on the next play. Like, no defense can ever recover from that. You can't put all of this on the defense. Oh, for sure. But yeah, I agree with you, Maxim, but you kind of wonder about his long-term health. Let's talk about Philip Rivers. Yeah, we already talked about that. And listen, I don't think he's going to save their season. He hasn't played in a long time. Listen, and I'm not trying to draw a Colin Kaepernick thing, but a lot of people said the reason why Colin Kaepernick's no longer being considered by an NFL team is because he has not played in a long time. Well, Philip Rivers hasn't played in a long time either. I know that he's got some familiarity with Shane Steichen, but I don't care how much familiarity you have with someone. To not play for 5 years is a very long time. A very long time. He's not saving their season. No way. Absolutely no way. All right, I have to get into this because everyone's discussing this. This is one of the more wild stories in sports. This one kind of has a similarity. The story just reminds me a lot of the Tiger Woods incident from 2009, I think it was. 09 or 2010. I can't remember exactly when. But this is the Sherrone Moore firing at Michigan, which is a huge deal. First, the firing came out and people were confused. This was unexpected. People thought it was based off performance. And then it came out he had an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. Then word got out that he went to the staff member's house, apparently threatened her because maybe she leaked the story out. I don't know. Then there were these reports of assault and him threatening self-harm. He has been arrested. He's being held for his arraignment tomorrow. This is listen, there are a lot of rumors coming out that are completely unconfirmed, but the one thing that's been coming out from a lot of the Michigan media, this was not a secret. This had actually been known by some of the media for a while, but they had no evidence of this. Listen, I know a lot of people do not like this person in talk radio, but Kevin Keatsman, he on 810 once said that people in the media know more than they actually share. And that is true. Whether you like him or not, that is 100% true. Listen, I get told things. And I'm not by, Karen696969 on Instagram. I'm talking people who are somewhat in the know. Whether it's managers, agents, former players who are... I'm told certain things. And I'm nothing to this extreme, to be clear. But a lot of times, people cannot run with certain things unless they have concrete evidence of it. The people in the media that were aware of Sherrone Moore having an affair did not have concrete evidence. And there are a lot of tweets that are surfacing from months ago of people accusing Sherrone Moore of this thing. I mean, there are images of him spending time with her in the office, at basketball games, spotted once at the sidelines with her. Dude, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And like I said earlier, a lot of these details that are coming out have some parallels to the Tiger Woods situation that happened a decade and a half ago. Now, again, I want to be clear. There are a lot of other details coming out there that have not been confirmed. But boy, listen, you have a job that opened up from a football discussion. A pretty significant job. But my goodness, the actions from Sherrone Moore, if these things are true, and here's the worst part about it, I haven't even mentioned the worst part. Michigan apparently knew this for quite some time. Now, I don't know specifically who, whether it was the athletics department or the university as a whole. Dude, if the university was aware of this, or if anyone from the athletics department, and I'm not talking like, a student who's interning with the athletics department, screw that guy. Like, if there's an assistant athletic director that knew something and didn't say anything, shame on that person. Like, there are a lot of things now coming out that I think the school should be investigated. And some people need to suffer the consequences for this. This had been what was the goal? Were you going to let him go at some point and then say, yeah, we'll let this drag on for a little bit, and then when we need to plug the cord, we'll let him go? Did you just want him to recruit for you, make these promises to kids, and then say, hey, thank you, see ya? Was that it? This is truly one of the more wild stories in all of sports in quite some time. I mean, listen, there have been some bizarre stories in sports. I mentioned the Tiger Woods one a couple of times. The Manti Te'o, I mean, I still remember the details that came out. And obviously there's that crazy documentary on that really unmasks this whole situation with Manti Te'o. There have been some wild stories in sports. Recency bias, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the biggest one, because recency bias always wins. But boy, if someone said this is the biggest story in sports that they've ever heard from a crazy, wild perspective, I don't know if you can push back on that right now. But man, I think what upsets me as a human being is this wasn't a secret in the university or the athletics department. Someone important at that campus knew and didn't say a damn word. That needs to be looked into 100%. Somehow missed the news last week. I'll share it again, Missouri. It is your time, because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is now live in your state. That's right. That means this is week 2 of DraftKings Sportsbook being available in the Show Me state, and you can include that as part of your sports fray. And what that means is you can make every game more exciting with same-game parlays, money lines, my personal favorite, touchdown props, and many more on DraftKings Sportsbook. And the best part is you can all do it straight from your phone. It is safe, secure, and easy to use. Win or lose, Missouri fans know a lot about game day with the tailgate, the passion, and the noise. And with DraftKings Sportsbook now live in the Show Me State, you can bring that same energy to every game, every snap, every score, and every victory. And right now, new Missouri customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly, win or lose. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action from America's top-rated sportsbook app. And looking ahead, I'll give you my primetime picks that I'll be making for Week 15 as we get closer and closer to the end of the season with the playoff race heating up. Thursday Night Football, you've got a big NFC South matchup between the Falcons and the Bucs. I know it's been kind of a tough season for both teams, but I'm going to go with the Bucs in this one to win. And then Sunday Night Football between the Vikings and the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys have been up and down lately as well, but I still think their offense is one of the best in the NFL, so I'm going to give this game to them. And then Monday Night Football, you have the Dolphins visiting the Steelers. I know the Steelers have had kind of an up and down year as well, but right now they are leading in their division, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to hang on to that lead, so I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this game on Monday night. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use my promo code ChiefZone. New Missouri customers can bet $5 and earn $300 in bonus bets instantly. That is with code ChiefZone. The crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, welcome back into the Chiefs Zone podcast. Farzin Vasugan here with you. Let's get right into it. The game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. And by the way, for all of you who are watching live on the live stream, appreciate you guys, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. I want to see your score predictions. Drop them below, and I'll read some of them right before I get into mine. This game will be on CBS. This is going to be the first CBS game that will not have Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Hey, listen, we have not fired up the air horns in quite some time, so let's put this one on cue. Stand by, because the announcers for this game, former Chiefs voice Kevin Harlan and former Chiefs quarterback Trent Green. You guys have been asking for those two, and they are finally here doing a Chiefs game, and they'll be at Arrowhead, so no travel for those two this week. Referee Sean Honkuley, the Chiefs opened up as 4.5-point betting favorites. That is now at 5.5. That's interesting. I don't know about that one, man. Putting that one at 5.5. Interesting. Over under at 41.5. The Chiefs are minus 230 money line favorites, and the Chargers plus 190 underdog on the money line there. All right. Let's see. As far as the injury report goes, it's nothing too big or crazy for Kansas City. Some good news on the injury front from Kansas City. The Chiefs appeared to have dodged a bullet, according to Andy Reid, when it came to Trent McDuffie. He avoided a significant injury with his knee. He has been practicing this week. He's been limited all week so far, but the good news is he avoided something serious. Trey Smith has also been practicing this week as well. He was a full participant yesterday. He was limited today. We'll see what that means for his Friday participation in practice, which is going to be the final week of preparation, which will be followed up with a game status possibly. Hollywood Brown did not practice on Wednesday. That was for personal reasons. He was limited in practice today. And then linebacker Nick Bolton, he practiced yesterday, not today due to an illness, so they added him to the injury report. This is not injury related, so he should be fine when he comes back. Juju does have a rib injury. That is listed on here. Nico Remigio, who did not play last game due to a concussion, he's been practicing in full the last two games, which is good news. Mahomes has a knee injury, but he's been fine. Noah Gray with the shoulder. He's been practicing this week, which is good news for him. Brian Cook with the ankle. He's been a full participant all week. So some good news on that front for the for the Chiefs. As far as the Chargers go, their return specialist, Darius Davis, has not been practicing this week. Will Dissly, one of the tight ends, battling a shoulder injury. He was a full participant today, was limited yesterday. Let's see, other significant injuries here. That Justin Herbert, of course, with the left hand, he's been limited, but I anticipate he plays. I know it was not the greatest game for him on Monday night, which we'll jump into shortly. Ladd McConkey also been limited this week. Their offensive line, man, Trey Pipkins III, who's been playing some guard and tackle, he has not practiced this week. So it is going to be very interesting for that offensive line because Herbert in this game was sacked 7 times. We'll get into that. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh, the head coach, former champion at Michigan, which we just got done talking about them. They've been in the news a lot recently. Greg Roman, offensive coordinator, former offensive coordinator of the Ravens, Bills, and 49ers, and now adding the Chargers to his resume. This is an offense that's got some good, some bad. 11th in total offense, not bad. Passing is 17th. That's gone down with the struggles with the offensive line, especially the injuries there. 9th in rushing, 17th in scoring. They're converting on 47% of their third downs. That is the third best in the NFL. I believe this is going to be... Oh, no, that's for the defense side. I'll say that for later. But fourth downs, 60% conversion rate, that's 11th best. And then their red zone offense, this is where they've struggled. They are 25th in that category, and Kansas City's done a good job this season in the red zone. So we'll see if they can keep that up against the Chargers. Herbert has just under 3,000 yards on the season. That is 10th best in the league. 22 touchdown passes, the 5th most. He's also got 11 picks. That is tied for the 3rd most. Patrick Mahomes has 10 interceptions, tying him 6 with a few others. Now, unfortunately, that number has gone up a bit after the 3-pick game against Houston. Against the Eagles, Herbert was 12 of 26 for 139 yards, a touchdown, an interception, ran 10 times for 66 yards. I mentioned the interception. He also had 2 fumbles. One of them he lost. Now, here's one reason why he fumbled twice. He was sacked 7 times in this game. There was a sack party for that Eagles defense on Monday night. Now, with Amari and Hampton back, his first game under his belt now, maybe they'll rely on him a little more in this upcoming game. He had 13 runs for 56 yards, which is not bad for him. First game back. 69 carries for 370 yards, 2 touchdowns through the 6 games that he's played, including Monday Night Football. He had played just 5 games before that. He came back from a left ankle fracture. So spent some time on the sidelines for 2 months, almost to the exact date, 2 months. And now he's back. Kamani Vidal, he's done some good things for the Chargers. He's averaging over 4 yards a carry. Hampton's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. But Vidal, who was last year a 6th-round pick, he had a really big 60-yard reception early in the game to help get the Chargers going, kind of help set the tone a little bit for the game. On a 3rd and 7 play, off a chip block, helping the right tackle. Goes out there, becomes the safety net for Herbert on a short pass, and he just had a great catch and run play for 60 yards, and the Chargers capped it off eventually with a touchdown score there. Keenan Allen coming back to the Chargers, 3 catches, 22 yards against Philly. He has 63 receptions for 644 yards, and I believe the 63 grabs, that is the most on the team. Ladd McConkey, last year's first, I can't remember if he was a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick, but he has 695 yards. That's the most on the team. He also has 5 touchdowns. I know he's battling through a foot injury right now, hence why he's been limited in practice this week. So we'll see what his status will be for the game. He had just 1 catch against the Eagles. By the way, the 60 yards Vidal had, that was the most receiving yards for the Chargers against the Eagles. The next best was Keenan Allen, who had 3 catches for 22 yards against the Eagles. So the passing game just wasn't a strength for the Chargers in that game. And a big reason was that because the offensive line struggled. As much as I've been saying it's going to hold them back. Yeah, it's been tough for the offense, but has not held them back in terms of wins and losses so far this year. Their tight end, Rondé Gadsden, he's averaging almost 14 yards a catch, 39 catches for 541 yards. So it's been a really good season for him. Quentin Johnston, he's got 7 touchdowns on the season, the most on the team. They have, how many guys they've got? They've got 4 different pass catchers. McConkey, Allen, Gatson, the tight end, and Johnson, their wide receiver, they've all got at least 500 receiving yards on the season. So Herbert, despite these struggles with the offensive line this year, he's been doing a good job distributing the football. I mentioned the 7 sacks. Listen, Patrick Mahomes had a rough game last Sunday night with 18 pressures allowed. Herbert had 28 pressures on him in this game. It was not a good game for Herbert. Bobby Hart allowed 8 pressures. He filled in for Trey Pipkins in this game. Their left tackle, who's actually a guard, Jamari Slayer, has done some converting. Slayer has played at least 150 snaps at left tackle and right guard. And he's been playing some right tackle as well. Bradley Bozeman, he's allowed 26 pressures on the season. Mekhi Becton, he's allowed the most on the team, 29 pressures. He allowed 8 on Monday Night Football. That's not good. Jamari Slayer also allowed 8 pressures in that game as well. So, look, I know the Chiefs have been involved in a lot of these games where, from a matchup perspective, it seems like Karlaftis should have a monster game, and we just don't ever see that. Chris Jones has kind of come alive in recent games for the Chiefs, especially against the Colts, against the Texans. We've seen Chris Jones play much better against the Broncos. Chris Jones has been more effective in recent games. This is the Chris Jones who deserves that monster payday he got a couple of years, or I guess a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. That's the Chris Jones who deserves that payday. He's been playing much better in 3 of the last 4 games, for sure. There's another game where, hey, this Chargers offensive line, not very good. So Chris Jones has a chance for another big game. I don't know if I have a lot of confidence in Karlaftis coming through, though. I just don't. So that is the Chargers offense in a nutshell. The Chargers defense, coordinated by Jesse Minter. He was the defensive coordinator at Michigan with Harbaugh and joined him in LA with the Chargers. Got a fairly good defense here. 4th in total defense, 5th against the pass, 9th in points allowed per game. They're in the middle of the pack when it comes to rushing yards allowed per game. 3rd down, boy, they're pretty good. 4th best, allowing 34% conversion rate on 3rd down. This is going to be the 2nd week in a row the Chiefs will face a top 5 3rd down defense. Now, on 4th downs, they struggle a bit, allowing 55% conversion rate. That's 17th. They do have the 8th best red zone defense in the league. When you look at some of their edge guys, Tui Pelotu, he's pretty good. Odafe Owe, former Raven, he got a sack on Jalen Hurts on Monday night. Khalil Mack, not as elite as he once was, but you can never count him out. 4.5 sacks for him. Justin Eboye, probably butchered that. He's got 6 tackles for a loss. A good part of their defensive line in the middle there. And then their linebackers, Deion Henley, Denzel Perryman, not really the best when it comes to being cover linebackers. I think if Travis Kelce, if those guys match up against Kelce pre-snap, I think Kelce can have his way with those guys. But I also said that a couple of weeks ago about the Cowboys linebackers, and that did not go well for Travis Kelce in that game. So we'll see if that changes in this one for the Chiefs being at home and playing a division rival. Their secondary, they've got some good players there. They've got Dante Jackson, Tony Jefferson. They each have 4 picks on the season. Kim Hart, Deshaun Hand, the defensive tackle, they both have, or all 4 of them, Jackson, Jefferson, Hart, and Hand, they all got an interception from Jalen Hurts. Jefferson was the one who had the game-winning pick in overtime. When it looked like the Eagles were about to win, the way they were marching down the field, that 4th down conversion, looked like they had it. And I know they got him to jump off side at one time too. But Jefferson came through. I can't remember who tipped that pass, but man, that was a clutch play by Jefferson to officially win the game and beat a really good Eagles team, giving them their 3rd straight loss. Derwin James, cannot count him out either. Can't forget about him. One of the best and hard-hitting safeties in the NFL today. Let's go to the Chargers special teams. And by the way, as far as, the offense goes against this Chargers defense, utilize Kareem Hunt, man. I mean, they're pretty good against the pass, but they're kind of average stopping the run. I don't know if they do that, though. Something they should have done against Buffalo and they didn't do. Against a much worse run defense, too. Chargers special teams that is coordinated by Ryan Ficken since 2022. He coached running backs, wide receivers a little bit for Minnesota, and then spent a majority of his time in Minnesota coaching special teams. That was from 2007 to 2021. They've got one of the best kickers in the game, Cameron Dicker, the kicker, 31 of 33 this year. He has tied for the most field goals made. He's got a better winning percentage, a better kicking percentage than the other kicker who's got 31 made field goals also. I can't remember who that is, but he's got a 94% field goal rate that he's made this season. So that's very good. Has not missed a single PAT. That's always good. And by the way, the other player is Jason Myers. I knew it was from Seattle, but I just didn't have the name. Their punter, J.K. Scott, solid punter for them. I mentioned Darius Davis may not play in this game with an injury that he's got going on. Their other wide receiver, Keandre Lambert-Smith, he may take over return duties in this one if Davis is not able to go. All right. So that is the Chargers team in a nutshell here. Let me check out your guys' score predictions. If you guys have not dropped your score prediction yet, give them below, and I'll read some of them here. 20-17. 100-10. Yeah, that's not good. 27-21. 14-13. Listen, I think both teams are going to score in this one here. I think they'll both be in the 20s. I think what I'm hoping that comes through for the Chiefs, this Chargers offensive line is not good. And I keep saying that's going to be the reason for their downfall, but we have not seen it yet. I think against this Chiefs line, which has not been up to expectations, you've got to think at some point they take advantage of not just a bad rookie playing at left tackle. I'm talking the entire offensive line. I mean, it's not good. When you look across the board at the Chargers offensive line, they've got a lot of weaknesses there. Bradley Bozeman, he's rated as the worst center on Pro Football Focus. Jamari Slayer, Trey Pipkins, they're not good tackles. Mekhi Becton, he's pretty bad. He just gave up 8 pressures. If Bobby Hart plays right tackle instead of Trey Pipkins, listen, Bobby Hart's just as bad. He allowed 8 pressures recently. So this is a Chargers offensive line that, listen, maybe the Chargers make the playoffs, but there's no way in hell they can make a deep run. There's just no way. I would be shocked if they did. So when it comes to this Chiefs defense, I think the defensive line will be a difference maker in this one. 24-21 Chargers, 27-21 Chiefs. Okay. Okay, we got some mixed score predictions here. I'm going 27-24. I'm going Kansas City in this one. Listen, I'll tell you right now, I think Kansas City is winning 3 of their last 4 games. The only game I don't see them winning is against Denver. So this is a game I think you should win. I know it's odd that the Chiefs are favored, but I would bet on them to win. I don't know if they're going to cover the 5.5 point spread or even the 4.5 point spread that they opened up with. But I can say with about 75% confidence that the Chiefs are going to win this game. I'm 100% confident they'll beat the Titans. I am 100% confident they'll beat the Raiders unless they have nothing to play for and they put in backups in that game, which I don't think the Chiefs want to do. I really don't think they want that to end their season. The Broncos game, I don't know if I can right now tell you that they're going to win that game. But for the time being, I think because of how bad that offensive line is, and I know that's not their offensive line at full strength, and if it was, I think Herbert would have a much better season. Herbert was on his way to having a great season before all these injuries occurred at the offensive line. But sometimes things happen, man. And I think in this game right now, I think the Chiefs defense is going to take over. And Charlene, yeah, great comment from Charlene here. Offense needs to be better. 100%. They only put up 10 points. They've got to be far more efficient than that. And by the way, when you look at the Chiefs in their game against the Texans, the two scores they got, the touchdown and the field goal, both of them were with great field position. You can't just rely on great field position. And by the way, props to Matt McMullen, who's the team reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs. He did like a quick pregame video and actually talked about field positioning in this game. He actually was spot on with that one because Kansas City, they relied on great field position. They did not score any other time they didn't have great field position. Let me quickly show the two scoring drives they had, rather. The first one, the touchdown, they started at their own 44, almost midfield. And then the field goal near the end of the third quarter, that one, they started at the Houston 48. So two drives, the only two scoring drives they had, started very close to midfield. One of them in their own 44, the other in Houston's 48. You cannot rely on that every time. Now, we saw, and I said this at halftime last Sunday night, I said the Chiefs are good at making halftime adjustments. And oh boy, did Spags not make halftime adjustments in that one? Because it was 1, 2, 3, 4 drives in a row. The Texans went 3 and out. They did not get a single first down in the third quarter. They had negative 2 yards of total offense in the third quarter. And even early in the fourth quarter, when they did pick up a first down on 3rd and 17, they ended up punting right after that. The touchdown drive they got was due to the Chiefs going forward on 4th and 1 from their own side of the field, which, let me just say right now, yes, that was your own 31. I just felt like momentum had shifted so much. And by the way, the Chiefs, they're number 2 in that category now, but before Sunday Night Football, they were number 1 on 4th downs. So I have no problems going for it, even from your own 31. And I understand the other side of it. It's like, hey, the Chiefs defense has absolutely destroyed the Texans this half. But I'll defend the decision to go for it. The play call, of all things in that playbook, that cannot have been the best play call. No way. I mean, there's no way that could have been the best thing on the play call sheet. So I don't know what's going on that front. Is that a Nagy thing? Is that a Reed thing? No one knows, but unfortunately, it's been going on for a while. But I'm going 27-24 Kansas City. Mahomes did say this week, yeah, it's very unlikely, but we're still gonna go out there and fight hard if we have a chance. So let's see it, man. Let's see it. Let's eliminate all of these press conferences where Andy Reid's saying he takes responsibility and they've got to clean things up. Let's clean up the New Heights podcast portion where Travis Kelce constantly takes blame for everything and says we got to do better. Let's get rid of that stuff. You can only hope. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. I appreciate all of you joining me tonight. I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy Thursday night football. Who is it? Falcons, Bucks. I'm going to go Bucks in that one. If you guys enjoyed any part of this podcast, please share it with your friends. Let them know about the Chiefs Zone podcast. And if you join late, go ahead and get ready to watch the archive version because it will be up shortly on Facebook, YouTube, and X, and also the audio versions on Apple and Spotify. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me once again. I will talk to you all on Friday, tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time for the Red Friday live chat. And then Sunday, since it's a noon kickoff game, we will be doing our pregame live chat, 8 a.m. Central Time. Talk to you all then. Take care.